Hey guys, this is Matt Granger, that Nikon guy. Today I wanted to talk to you about the Nikon Holy Trinity. That's what it's often referred to anyway. Different people have different names for it. It's the Nikon lineup that covers such a great focal range. It's a trio that most professional photographers will own. We've got the 14 to 24, 24 to 70, and 70 to 200. So obviously they all dovetail with each other. They cover 14 all the way through to 200. They're all constant f2.8s. Only the 70 to 200 though has VR, the two lower ones don't. So I wanted to run through and tell you what's so great about these three and why so many professionals will own all three of these lenses. Okay, so first of all, the 14 to 24 is amazing. I can't overestimate how good this one is. Do a little bit of research on it. It is expensive, it is specialist, it is a little bit delicate. I've broken one of these myself from dropping it. It does have a huge bulbous front end on it, which is really difficult to get a filter to fit on. It does distort a little bit under 16mm, as all of them do. So despite all of those buts, this is ridiculously sharp and accurate and fast in focusing. Even comparing it to these other two, I'd say that this is probably maybe even the sharpest of all three, and they're amazing lenses. So to say that is something else. I don't know what Canon has to compete with this one. I don't think they have one that covers this exact focal range, and I haven't tested all the lenses out there on the market, but I can say I have never seen or tested a super wide angle zoom lens that is as sharp as this. It's just phenomenal, and the amount of distortion you get from it is really, really low comparing to the other ones out there on the market. Astonishing. If you want to get right up close in the scene, throw it down to 14 to 16mm and get a full wide shot of, you know, the action going on. You can focus super close on this one. It's just stunning to put you in the middle of the action. And it's a fairly hefty lens. It's beautifully constructed. It's only got the manual auto focus switch on it. There's no other doodads going on with this one. And looking at the front of the lens, you can see just how bulbous that front element is. It really bulbs out. But keep in mind, this is not a fisheye lens. It's actually the opposite. It keeps things surprisingly undistorted, despite, you know, the very wide angle this achieves. And the foot, excellent metal construction, and of course the weather seals, like all of these lenses have. Now, next up is the 24 to 70, 2.8, no VR, nano crysted ED magic lens. Now, I've said before, this is my most used lens. I don't know if I can call it my favorite, you know, it's just such a go-to. The amount of work that this lens has seen, the amount of images I've created with it, yeah, it's by far my most used lens. For me, the focal range is fantastic on DX or FX. On FX, it's just the dream. At events and that kind of thing, unless I'm a long way back, this is my go-to lens. It focuses super fast, it's super sharp. The flaring control on this is, well, it's one of the best I've ever tested in this lineup. I'd say it's the best. Distortion, barely anything there. Vignetting, again, a top performer. The build quality is just phenomenal. This has seen hell and it's never had an issue. I think the focusing ring, the rubber got loose on it, so I had that changed. That's all that's ever been an issue with it. Absolutely love this lens, it's amazing. 70, again, beautifully constructed. Just the two rings for zoom and for focus up the front. Now this one has a unique double function, so at around 55, 60 mil is when it's at its shortest length. Going to 24 extends a long way, goes back in, and then to go to 70, it extends back out a little bit. So a little bit of an unusual design there. Looking front on, 77 mil front filter thread, perfectly flat front on. And on the bottom, again, fully weather sealed, beautifully constructed, and the bottom glass element is flush with the bottom of the housing. This one won't accept a teleconverter, it would crunch in against there. And next up, the 70 to 200 VR2, this one, it's such a workhorse. Once you've used this, you'll know what I talk about. It's lightning fast to focus. It's so sharp, it's crazy. Just how this pulls focus is unlike any other 70-200 I've tested. The Canon one is just as well, even maybe better built than this one, but this is a brick tank. It's just a gorgeous lens, so fast, so sharp, and the VR is really effective on it. Love it. Now this bad boy is a couple of $1,000, around $3 I think, a bit under. It's got your auto, manual focus. We can undo this one to rotate the foot. Then you've got a focus selector, so you can either have the full focal range or just infinity to 5 meters. That lets you focus faster. VR on and off, and then whether you want it normal or active mode. This thing is built like an absolute tank. The bottom, again, excellent construction, fully weather sealed, but you'll notice it's got quite a depth there, over an inch before the first element inside. This one will accept the Nikon teleconverters and it works beautifully. Again, the front end is a hefty and beautiful 77mm front filter thread size, and this one you can just feel the quality. The foot rotates to whatever position you want it, and you can slide that one off by undoing it, and then it will just slide off if you don't want to use it, or you can put the tripod mount straight into there, or you've got the two options on here depending on which foot you want to use it on. Now, you'll often hear people saying, well, I've heard people saying anyway, that with these three lenses you can do anything you need. You know, you can go into a job confident you're going to have all bases covered. Now, it's true that they cover a great focal range, but for myself, and everyone's style of shooting is going to be different, of course. I'm not saying this is what's going to necessarily be right for you, but if I had to pick three lenses to take to a job, it wouldn't actually be these three. The kind of work that I do, which is mainly portraiture, if I needed to, you know, include most of these, I would take the 24-70, no questions asked, to pretty much any shoot that's in my bag. 70-200, if it's not a close quarters shoot, that'll be in my bag. But if I'm doing a portrait in studio or inside someone's home, 70-200 may not go. But this fella, my 50mm will be. This is the 1.4G. The 1.8G is fantastic also if you want to get something a little bit cheaper. But for me, this is a go-to lens. If I'm traveling or doing an indoor portrait, phenomenal. Now I often take the 1.2 manual focus, but I love the 50mm 1.4G. I film a lot of my videos on it. This video is currently being filmed on the 1.8D, but this is just a golden lens. So, you know, I would use this a lot more often than I do the 14-24. And another lens that's with me on most shoots is my 85 1.4G. If I have the room to shoot at 85mm where, you know, it's not too long a lens for me to use, the 85 1.4G is amazing. I just love the bokeh that you get from this one. You would have seen in my bokeh showdown how incredible the results this one produces are. Beautiful lens, but it can be a little bit too long. And another one that I've been using a whole hell of a lot lately is my Lensbaby Composer Pro teamed with the Edge 80 optic. It's an 80mm f2.8, straight on, it's beautifully sharp, probably not quite as sharp or, you know, in the exact league as this kind of a, you know, $1,500, $1,800 lens, but this one is really sharp, but the options it gives you to be able to get a sharp plane of focus through a scene that's otherwise blurred out, I just love this lens. I've been going crazy with it lately. But there's a good reason why these three are considered the Holy Trinity. In terms of length, the 24-70 and the 14-24 are pretty similar, and the 70-200 is much bigger. But as a trio, don't they just look lovely together? If you can afford them, you know, you're looking at just under or just over $2,000 for each of them. You're probably looking at about $6,000 to $7,000 for that trio. But they are going to cover most situations that a majority of photographers will use. If you're shooting all landscapes, you probably don't need the 70-200. If you're shooting all events, depending on the kind of events you do, you may not need the top or bottom of that range as well. So I'll just show you now a little slideshow to finish on, going through each of the focal lengths from 14 all the way through to 200 of the same scene, so you can see why it's such a versatile option. Thanks for watching, guys. This is Matt Granger, that Nikon guy. Please click to subscribe. Stay tuned for the little slideshow, and I'll see you soon.